The Five Love Languages. The Five Love Languages is a book written by Dr. Gary Chapman. Dr. Chapman is known for his marriage counseling and marriage enrichment. This evening, we will be looking at a topic from the book. We've already looked at what happens to love after the wedding. Tonight, keeping the love tank full. Other topics: falling in love. Love language number 1, words of affirmation. Number 2, quality time. Number 3, receiving gifts. Number 4, acts of service. Number 5, physical touch. Love is a choice. Love makes the difference. Children and love languages. But again, tonight's topic, keeping the love tank full. So let's join Dr. Gary Chapman and his book, The Five Love Languages, Keeping the Love Tank Full. He begins by saying, love is the most important word in the English language and the most confusing. Everyone agrees love is the best and most important. The Apostle Paul says the greatest of these is love. The Apostle John says God is love. As we begin reading in the Old Testament, we see that the Creator God gave us love. Adam and Eve, the gift of love. There are books by the thousands, songs in the millions, magazines sold around the world, and they all agree that what the world needs now is love. Psychologists tell us the need to feel loved is a primary human emotional need. In fact, for love, we will climb mountains. For love, we will cross seas and desert wastelands. For love, we will endure untold hardships. And without love, mountains become unclimbable. Seas become uncrossable. Deserts become unbearable. And hardships become the burden of life. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. 1 Corinthians 13:13. What is love? We say, I love pizza. I love my mother. I love swimming. I love motorcycles and cars. I love cats. I love dogs. What else? Oh, I love trees. I love grass. Flowers, people. I love my wife. Or I love my husband. We say, I love. We even love. Dr. Chapman, we also use the word love to explain our behavior. I did it because I love her. A man is involved in an adulterous relationship and calls it love. The Bible calls it sin. The wife of an alcoholic picks up the pieces after her husband's latest episode. She calls it love, but the psychologist calls it codependency. The parent indulges all the child's wishes, calling it love, but the family therapist would call it irresponsible parenting. So, what is loving behavior? Our purpose in this seminar is not to remove all confusion surrounding the word love. We will focus on that kind of love that is essential to our emotional health. Child psychologists affirm that every child has certain basic emotional needs that must be met if he or she is to be emotionally stable. Among those emotional needs, none is more basic than the need for love and affection, the need to sense that he or she belongs and is wanted. With an adequate supply of affection, the child will likely develop into a responsible adult. Without that love, he or she will be emotionally and socially retarded. I liked the metaphor the first time I heard it, said Dr. Chapman. Inside every child is an emotional love tank. When a child really feels loved, he will develop normally. But when the love tank is empty, the child will misbehave. Much of the misbehavior of children is motivated by the cravings of an empty love tank. I had never visualized an empty love tank inside those children, but I had certainly seen the results of it. Their misbehavior was a misguided search for the love they did not feel. At issue is if the child feels loved, not if the parent thinks the child is loved. At issue is if the husband or wife feels loved, not if the parent, the wife, the husband, thinks the spouse is loved. They were seeking love in all the wrong places and in all the wrong ways. I remember Ashley, who at 13 years of age was being treated for a sexually transmitted disease. Her parents were crushed. They were angry with Ashley. They were upset with the school, which they blamed for teaching her about sex. Why would she do this? They asked. In my conversation with Ashley, she told me of her parents' divorce when she was 6 years old. I thought my father left because he didn't love me, she said. When my mother remarried when I was 10, I felt she now had someone to love her. But I still had no one to love me. I wanted so much to be loved. I met this boy at school. He was older than me, but he liked me. I couldn't believe it. He was kind to me, and in a while I really felt he loved me. I didn't want to have sex, but I wanted to be loved. Ashley's love tank had been empty for many years. Her mother and stepfather had provided for her physical needs, but had not realized the deep emotional struggle raging inside her. They certainly loved Ashley, and they thought that she felt their love. Not until it was almost too late did they discover that they were not speaking Ashley's primary love language. The emotional need for love, however, is not simply a childhood phenomenon. That need follows us into adulthood and into marriage. The in love experience temporarily meets that need, but it is inevitably a quick fix, and as we shall see later, has a limited and predictable lifespan. After we come down from the high of the in love obsession, the emotional need for love resurfaces because it is fundamental to our nature. It is the center of our emotional desires. We needed love before we fell in love, and we will need it as long as we live. The need to feel loved by one's spouse is at the heart of marital desires. A man said to me recently, "What good is the house, the cars, the place at the beach, or any of the rest of it if your wife doesn't love you?" Do you understand what he was really saying? More than anything, I want to be loved by my wife. Material things are no replacement for human emotional love. A wife says, "He ignores me all day long and then wants to jump in bed with me. I hate it." She's not a wife who hates sex. She is a wife desperately pleading for emotional love. Something in our nature cries out to be loved by another. Isolation is devastating to the human psyche. That is why solitary confinement is considered the cruelest of punishments. At the heart of mankind's existence is the desire to be intimate and to be loved by another. Marriage is designed to meet that need for intimacy and love. This is why the Genesis account speaks of the husband and wife becoming one flesh. That did not mean the two individuals would lose their identity. It meant that they would enter into each other's lives in a deep and intimate way. The New Testament writers challenge both the husband and the wife to love each other. Love in marriage is important. Love is important, and it is elusive. I've listened to many married couples share their secret pain. Some came to me because the inner ache had become unbearable. Others came because they realized that their behavior patterns, or the misbehavior of their spouse, was destroying the marriage. Some came simply to inform me that they no longer wanted to be married. Their dreams of living happily ever after had been dashed against the hard walls of reality. Again and again, I have heard the words, "Our love is gone. Our relationship is dead." We used to feel close, but not now. We no longer enjoy being with each other. We don't meet each other's needs. Their stories bear testimony that adults, as well as children, have love tanks. Could it be that deep inside hurting couples exists an invisible, emotional love tank with its gauge on empty? Could the misbehavior, withdrawal, harsh words, and critical spirit occur because of that empty love tank? If we could find a way to fill it, could the marriage be reborn? With a full tank, would couples be able to create an emotional climate where it is possible to discuss differences and resolve conflict? Could that tank be the key that makes marriage work? Those questions sent Dr. Chapman on a long journey. Along the way, he discovered the simple yet powerful insights shared in this seminar and in this book. The journey took him through 20 years of marriage counseling. It also took him into the hearts and minds of hundreds of couples. Couples have invited Dr. Chapman into the inner chamber of their marriages. They talked openly about their marriages. The illustrations in this seminar are cut from the fabric of real life. Only names and places have been changed to protect the privacy of those who shared openly. Dr. Chapman says, I'm convinced that keeping the emotional love tank full is as important to a marriage as maintaining the proper oil level in a car. Running your marriage on an empty love tank may cost you even more than trying to drive your car without oil. And personally, yes, it is my personal belief that the concepts shared by Dr. Chapman regarding the love tank also are useful at work, school, church, and social situations. The information that will be shared in this seminar has the potential to save thousands of marriages and can even enhance the emotional climate of a good marriage. Whatever the quality of your marriage now, it can always be better. Warning. Understanding the 5 love languages and learning to speak the primary love language of your spouse or your children may radically affect their behavior. People behave differently when their emotional love tanks are full. Before we examine the 5 love languages, we need to address one more important but confusing phenomena: the euphoric experience of falling in love. When the lights flash and the fireworks go off, the euphoric experience of falling in love. So, we must express it in his or her primary love language. We must express love in his or her primary love language. Got it? We must express it in his or her primary love language. You see, speaking your love language to another who has a different love language doesn't get it done. It doesn't fill the love tank. So, the 5 love languages with Dr. Gary Chapman. If you don't have the book, go to Amazon.com and find the book for yourself. Our next topic: falling in love.